How is everybody doing? How is everybody doing? So, so I just happened to bump into a video of an individual who claims to have been a former SARS employee. We'll take him at his word. And he is advising folks on YouTube about buying property, what's wise and what's not wise. SARS, for my viewers who are not South African, is the tax collector. It's the like IRS, and so he's going through a whole lot of arguments. Some of them are related to the point, some are not. Some of it is just all over the place. But the key point here is that he says that buying property using your own money is a bad idea. You should rather use the bank's money to buy property. Obviously, this is not a novel idea or a new idea. I mean, this is an idea that we've heard several times from various people. And I just think that it's a stupid idea. And I often find it very interesting when people make these investment advice statements that make statements like never or all the time or things like that, when investment is often not an issue of or that can be absolutized. Investment decisions are often very situation specific and also investor specific, and depending on the needs of the particular investor and their tolerance to risk. So when you're giving these sort of advices, when you're telling people never to buy property cash, must use a bank's money, I'm likely to disagree. But let's put it to the test. Is it absolutely, is there a way that we can know for absolute certainty if one decision using cash or using credit leverage to acquire property, if one or the other is a good idea? And the answer is that no. These decisions are often depend on the particular situation and the particular need of the investor. So he places this situation with working individuals, assuming in the middle class or upper middle class, way upper middle class, people who are earning millions of rands per year, obviously, and saying that it's better for them to use the bank's money than to use their own cash. And then my thinking then would be, say, assume this person is a banker or is an investment analyst at Citibank or at Goldman Sachs or at Rand Merchant Bank in Sandton, and is married and has two kids and owns a house in, say, Branston, and they are servicing a bond on that house. And they own two cars, one for the wife and one for the husband. And they are servicing the loans on these cars. Would this person, if they come across a large amount of money, say R1 million as the amount that this person chose, and assuming now that this R1 million is now free from any tax obligations, meaning he has paid all the tax on whatever amount he got before he got to R1 million, would it be a bad idea for this person to take R1 million and buy a property? I think no, that's not a very clear situation for me and for a lot of investors. It could very well be wise for this person to take that R1 million and put it in an apartment, say an apartment in Midrand maybe, or an apartment in Kempton Park or Benoni or Randburg or Northcliffe or anywhere. I'm just making an example. And because what would happen with that is that they now have a property that does not have any obligations towards the bank, and they are getting income from the property every month, which actually increases their earnings per month without them having to service the bank with regards to the bond that would come with if they actually approach the bank to borrow money for their property. And also, there's nothing stopping that individual that after buying their property and earning, say they earn, I'll just say 8,000 rand a month from their property, and let's assume that after paying taxes and levies and rates, they are left with say $5,000. Sorry, 5,000 rands. That is still an increase of their income of 5,000 rand. And while at the same time they have a asset that is under their name that is going to appreciate in value over the long term, regardless of any market fluctuations that might happen in the short term. In the long term, the property is going to appreciate. So there's nothing that is stopping them that after say 6 months after that, to actually approach the bank using that same property as collateral and say, give me R1 million loan to get another property. There's really nothing stopping them from that. In fact, most people would consider using their cash to buy a property now with the plan of using that in the future as security in order to use the bank's money to actually grow their property portfolio. So, and I'm not saying that this scenario I'm presenting is necessarily the best scenario for all situations all the time, because it might not necessarily be the case. I'm just saying that this is another scenario that is available for this individual, which is actually quite wise and sound. So this idea that you should never use cash to buy property is just stupid and just bad advice all around. And it also shows a lack of understanding in terms of how investment decisions get to be made in the real world. And I personally actually have experience in the real estate industry of more than 6 years. After consulting with real estate entrepreneurs in Cape Town who are managing and owning large swaths of properties. So I know what I'm talking about. But also I do have experience consulting with other small and medium businesses, seeing how these investment decisions get to be made in real life. And you cannot possibly be giving these advices telling people that, oh, the only right way to do things is this way. The only right way to do things is... It just doesn't work like that. I mean, it's a similar issue maybe, for instance, if for someone who is experienced in the logistics space of what is it a wise thing for someone to buy a truck, a heavy-duty truck cash, or to use the bank's money to buy? And I found that there is always often a mixture of both of those things. You find that for the smaller trucking companies would use cash to buy trucks. They'll use cash to buy trucks and put their first truck is often bought cash. But then as they grow, they are often more likely to use a combination of both cash and credit. And in certain instances, they just go to the dealer and buy a brand new Volvo, and go to Afrit and buy a brand new trailer, which is 1.5 million, and a Volvo horse is 3 million. That's 4.45 million cash. You're likely to see things like that happening. And sometimes you're likely to see them going to the bank seeking loans for maybe so that they can buy 4 or 5 trucks, including trailers. So let's just say 4 million times 4, that's 16 million. So you see a combination of both. It just depends on what are the particular needs of the business at the time and what are the unique needs of the investor or the business person at that particular time. And it also is an issue of what are the cash, how cash sensitive are they at the particular space of their life. And that could also mean that, for instance, for businesses that are cash heavy, like in the logistics sector, they are more likely to use credit because they need all the money that they can have, because there are always payments needed to be made, like at very strange times of the month, which is not the case with with property, for instance. It's not as cash intensive as something like logistics, but logistics has a higher return in general than property. But here's another scenario of someone who is a working professional and come up with and gets money. Maybe it doesn't really matter where the money comes from. It could be a bonus, could be whatever. They could take this 1 million rand and pay off their cars, pay down their bond in the house, and substantially put themselves in a better position in terms of equity-wise of their family. And they can actually remove their financial obligations to the bank. That can actually open them up to opportunities to get funding from the bank to invest maybe into a business or invest into property or invest in some other venture. So there are many scenarios that someone who has cash on hand could look into, other than telling them that no, you can't use your cash to acquire an asset. That is not something that can be true for all people in all circumstances. It possibly can't be the case. Yeah. So yeah, but I mean, this is something that just I thought I had to respond to, because there's a lot of people here who are giving financial advice on the internet, but they are just giving bad advice. Yeah, so I think that you should be wary and be careful and be mindful of these things, because they are happening a lot. And I think that in particular, in this particular instance, that advice that you shouldn't use cash to acquire assets like real estate is not necessarily good advice. It might very well be the best solution for a lot of individuals, including myself, actually, because if I get into cash right now, my first instance would not be to approach the bank for credit to build a business, but is to put in the money to actually build a business, and then later on approach the bank where expansion is needed. That's what most people who have access to cash and who have had access to cash would normally do. And in something like real estate, and real estate is often considered as a defensive asset more than because of the nature of real estate. Real estate won't necessarily make you rich very fast, like other high risk endeavors. Real estate is more like gold, a way to protect your wealth, a way to protect your equity. So it doesn't make any sense why someone would tell you not to put money into real estate, because basically what you are doing by that, you are actually taking a defensive position. And then later you can take more offensive positions after you've secured your position, especially if you have a family and kids. So that's my view on that. I'm gonna share a link of this video on the comments below, and you can have a look at it. It's like, I don't know, 20 something minutes, and it's a lot of meandering and rambling, which makes it very difficult to listen to. But anyways, have a look at it. Tell me what you think. Tell me if you agree with that person. Tell me if you agree with me. But as in all things, for all your financial needs, consult a qualified and certified financial advisor who is certified under the South African law or under the United States law. These videos can never, under any circumstances, be considered or be construed in any way as financial advice. They are for information and entertainment purposes only. Thank you very much. See you next time.